farm is a love story. It started with a love of the land and traditional Pennsylvania German farming practices and continues to this day thanks to the dedicated staff, members, and volunteers who keep this nonprofit organization alive. The farm we know today as Quiet Valley was carved out of the wilderness during the Revolutionary War era by Johann Decker and remained in his family until 1913, when it was sold to Tommy Hess. In 1958, Wendell Wicks bought the farm for his wife, Alice, who used it to host parties. However, she dreamed of turning the farm into a museum where the ways of the past would be preserved. Alice Wicks, who was known as Graham, had a plan that involved her daughter Sue and Sue's husband, Gary Euler.
The first year that we were married, Gary took his agriculture students on a field trip to Canada, so I decided to come home and visit with my mom, and she presented this really far-out idea that she'd like to turn her farm, Quiet Valley, into a living history museum. And would Gary and I be willing to help her? Well, I thought it was a crazy idea. I was afraid to talk to Gary about it. Didn't mention it until we came home the next time at Thanksgiving. And on the way home, I knew I was under the gun. And so I told him, and much to my amazement, he was very excited about the idea.
The museum opened for the summer season on July 13, 1963, with the house tour and the 1850s barn tour. The house tour featured the cellar kitchen, which was the original dwelling built into the hillside in 1765, the bedroom, which was added over the cellar kitchen to accommodate the growing family, the new kitchen, which was constructed in 1892 and featured a modern cook stove, and a small parlor for entertaining and relaxation. The barn tour featured the original bank barn built into the embankment using hand-hewn beams and wooden pegs. The tour highlighted traditional planting and harvesting techniques and equipment. To this day, the summer tour season also highlights traditional craft and agrarian practices through demonstrations such as rope making, flax preparation, spinning, and weaving. When Quiet Valley opened, many of the original buildings had fallen into disrepair or completely crumbled, but over the years they were repaired or replaced. The all-important bake oven was rebuilt in 1966.
We built the foundation, which is stone all the way around, with a hole in the bottom, and bring the ashes out, and then stone slabs across from the wall to the wall, so it's hollow underneath. And then it was time to build the dome, and I wasn't sure how to do that. I had never done something like this, so I was talking to a teacher at the same time I was teaching in Bangor, and he had done domes for Bethlehem Steel. And so I enlisted him, and he was able to build a dome for that oven, which has been there now for 60 years. And he built that dome all the way up around. And when he got to the top and put the last brick in, well, he got right up on the top of the dome and jumped on it, and it held.
Some of the buildings were relocated from other sites, such as the Granddaddy Cabin, which was moved in 1967 and finished by volunteers during an old-fashioned chinking party. Traditionally, the Granddaddy Cabin housed the senior farmer and his wife after they turned the farm over to the next generation, but today it houses the spinning and weaving display. The gift shop was relocated from its original site in 1967, and the open front barn was moved to the farm to make way for the construction of Beltsville Lake in 1970. Over the years, Quiet Valley's mission of education and preservation of traditional crafts and farm life has grown into programs for preschool, homeschool, and summer camps for children of all ages. From its beginning, the farm attracted summer camp groups, and in 1966, school tours began.
In the fall of 1965, our first child was born, so I was home with him, and we had the great idea of having school children come to visit Quiet Valley in the spring. And so we had reached out to Miriam Avenue School, and they brought one of their elementary classes each day. And one day they brought two classes, and we thought we were overwhelmed, but we eventually increased that. And so we would have spring and fall tours, which were very successful, and we were quite popular.
In 1993, the schoolhouse was built to host school groups and give students a sense of what a 19th century school day was like. The building is a replica of a typical schoolhouse of the 1860s, except it is much larger than traditional schools in order to accommodate modern class sizes. When the museum opened, the main road ran down through the farm, right beside the farmhouse, which was noisy and somewhat dangerous. Traffic and parking along the road became increasingly problematic as the farm grew and added seasonal events.
Fall is such a beautiful time on the farm. We started having Girl Scout groups come in and make apple butter, and that led my friend Barbara Lord to think we should really have a big event, a harvest festival, invite people. The township supervisors were very cooperative and allowed us to close the road to through traffic. We had no idea how successful our event would be, and we soon ran out of parking, and cars that were coming lined all the way up to 209. The state police came along and asked us if we wouldn't disperse the crowd because it was becoming a hazard. It wasn't too many years after that we were able to, at our own expense, build a road around the perimeter of the farm so that it would make it much safer. And then we added much more parking so that we could have bigger events.
In 1978, the main road was rerouted to solidify the integrity of the farm's grounds and to create parking for guests and festival goers. Since its inception, Harvest Fest has become one of Quiet Valley's biggest fundraisers, featuring all the sights, sounds, and tastes of autumn, from dipping candles to cooking apple butter. A chicken barbecue and other homemade treats for hungry festival goers are offered as well. Additional festivals were subsequently added, including Farm Animal Frolic, which takes place during 2 weekends in May and stars baby farm animals such as chicks and kid goats. An Old-Time Christmas runs for 2 weekends in December and includes a live nativity, the Bell Schnickel, a precursor of Old St. Nick, and a homespun holiday gift shop. More recent features on the farm include the covered bridge that the farm's horse team uses to ferry guests on wagon rides out to the pond and back, as well as a traditional lime kiln. When the ice on the pond is thick enough, the farm hosts an old-fashioned ice harvest for Quiet Valley members who learn to use antique ice saws and tongs to load blocks of ice onto horse-drawn sleighs to fill the ice house. Another members' event is Maple Sugaring Day, held in early spring at the Sugar Shack. The Ice Harvest and Maple Sugaring Day are just 2 of the many benefits enjoyed by Quiet Valley members. So step back in time and experience hands-on history here at Quiet Valley. Let our costumed interpreters take you through our historic buildings. Sign up for a workshop class to learn traditional skills and enjoy our seasonal festivals. Please consider joining the Quiet Valley family as a volunteer or a contributing member. Quiet Valley Living Historical Farm, preserving the past to benefit the future.